And here I should mention that I did it a second year.
Yes.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk across different bridges. So I load up the backpack. I fill it with a couple of frozen bottles of ice water. It is even hotter this day than it was the year before. So it is scorching. The bridges I end up crossing are mostly in Brooklyn and Queens.
Yeah.
And the only public transportation I took during this day was, until I got to my final destination, the tram that takes you from Roosevelt Island down to the Queensboro Bridge. I walk, and also I'd never been on Roosevelt Island at this point. Lived in New York for, 19 years, 18 years at this point. Never been on Roosevelt Island. Never been on any of these bridges either. There's a reason for that. So I take the tram, I walk across Central Park, I walk across the Bow Bridge, which goes over the pond in Central Park. It is, fun fact, the shortest pedestrian bridge in New York City.
Nice.
And one of the oldest. And then I decide, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk all the way up to the George Washington Bridge from, 57th Street in Central Park?
Yeah.
I walk all the way to the top of Central Park. Never done that. 58th Street or at the, wherever I was, the top of Central Park, whatever block that is, 110th Street maybe. It's where you start tripping over needles in the park. You're on the west side, you're climbing up through Harlem. It is hot. I was walking into bodegas looking like, and I also had my camera with me. I added a couple pounds. I mean, I was soaked in sweat, caked in dirt. I looked like I was trying to give myself dehydration and what is it, rhabdomyolysis or whatever the condition is, where your muscles start breaking down and poisoning your body.
Rhabdo, for sure. Yeah, Rhabdo.
Yeah. Looked like I was trying to give myself that.
I will say the nice thing about walking around New York is plenty of resources. If you're out doing it in the wilderness, you're like, shit, I ran out of water, I ran out of food. What am I going to do?
There's a bodega right there.
Yeah, there's a bodega right there. He's got everything you could ever need.
That is correct. And so I get all the way up to the George Washington Bridge, which is well at the top of Manhattan. And the George Washington Bridge connects New Jersey to Manhattan. And I get up to it, and I am just cooked. And I walk across the George Washington Bridge, which is, as far as bridges go, probably the most epic and insane bridge of them all. Traffic's going right by you. You are very high up. You're looking up the Hudson River to the Hudson Valley.
Awesome.
Down at the rest of Manhattan. It's pretty epic, but it's also, you're walking to New Jersey. And so I get to the line in the sidewalk that says New York, and then there's a line that says New Jersey. And I look at it and I say, fuck this. No, I believe I said to myself, fuck New Jersey. And I turn around and start walking back. And I get about 50 feet. And I go, if you don't cross this bridge and get all the way to the New Jersey side and back, this will haunt you for the rest of your life.
Gotta finish.
So I truck it, go all the way over the New Jersey side, look at it.
Experience a little bit of New Jersey trauma. If you're going to go up to the edge of the wasteland, you just got to get in, take a peek.
Listen, I put a foot in. That was more than enough. And then I turned around and hiked back. And then I got on the A train and took it all the way down to 14th Street, got on the L, took it back to my place. And if I was sore the year before, this time I was cooked. I mean, I must have been sore for 3 days after. It went from being an enjoyable, fun ritual of discovery to this Moby Dick-like hunt for new experiences that cost me body, mind, and soul.
So what did you learn in totality from this? Because we set this up by, you're not a person who would normally do this. Something prompted this that wasn't what you would hope for.
I mean, listen, I am like many of your adherents, deranged enough to put on a backpack full of weight for the sake of doing so.
Heavy for the sake of being heavy.
I learned exactly the thing that I set out to, which was that new things are possible. And I would do well to internalize that. I think if anything, I failed to capitalize on that maybe as much as I should or would have liked to. No, certainly as much as I should or would have liked to. Because, and I already feel the cliche spilling out of me, but you don't really know what you're capable of until you try it.
Right.
And it doesn't actually take that much to show you that or to demonstrate that. Literally, for me, it was just putting one foot in front of another.
Yeah.
And I did. I did. And it was wonderful. And I don't want to be prescriptive about this, but I think it'd be incumbent upon me to find more opportunities to do that. And I don't, it's like they say at financial firms, past performance does not indicate future results. So I don't want to make this promise to anybody. But I don't think most people are going to be the lesser for it.
100%. As you've been talking and kind of telling this larger story, there was a guy who helped me get sober, like the most influential person in that journey. And he got diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. Similar to you, he goes, I was in the house. I didn't want to be in the house. I didn't really want to be anywhere else, though. He goes, so I just went outside and took a walk. Ended up taking a long walk, and he goes, somewhere along that walk, I became okay with it. It is what it is. And he returned home with this totally different outlook. Now, that dude knew he had stage 4 colon cancer once he started helping me. I didn't know he had that until I'd known him for like 3 months. And I think back to that all the time, just the selflessness behind that, and also where that comes from.
Wow.
And I do think sometimes you need to go do something that allows you to process and reframe things.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at the grand history of humanity, walking has always been one of those things. Why do people go on pilgrimage? Why do things happen mentally? You go on a walk and it appears as a physical act. It's not. It is a physical act, but it's more a mental exploration in a way.
I dare anybody listening to this who visits New York City or Paris or London to go and put 20,000 steps in near the center of those cities. Don't retrace any of them. Just 20,000. That'll take you, by my count, around 200 minutes, give or take, so 3 hours. Your life will improve dramatically. That I will guarantee, absent some tragedy or act of God. There is just nothing like going for a good walk. There really isn't.
Feels like a perfect note to end on. Foster, thanks for coming on, man.
Man, my pleasure. What a joy. What a joy.
All right, let's wrap things up. Let's land the plane. So we have just talked to two people who are talking about really extreme forms of walking. On one hand, we have this ridiculous Stephen King murderous scenario where these boys have to walk very far. And yes, it shows us that the human body is capable of walking extreme distances if we need to. On the other hand, we have Foster, who without any training ended up rucking more than a marathon across New York City. These are unbelievable, inspiring forms of walking, but at the same time, raises a question. How many steps should you be getting day to day? I'm talking about in the trenches of daily life, where you're not taking on these giant challenges, where you're just like, how many steps do I need in order to be healthy? Now, here's what I'll say. You've probably heard the number is 10,000. Turns out that's a myth. So it was started by a Japanese pedometer manufacturer who named their pedometer the manpoke, and that translates to the 10,000 steps meter. That number stuck. There's a couple reasons for that. One, it's 5 figures rather than 4. 2, it's very memorable. It's nice and round. And 3, it's enough walking that you actually have to get out and take a walk in order to hit it. So that number just sort of stuck. That's what everyone thought. Oh, that is the optimal number of steps a day. But then something happened. Scientists started digging into the data, and they found that 10,000 steps isn't really the optimal number. So there are 2 ways to look at this. First, there is a daily step count that is sort of the bare minimum that you should get for health. And the second is sort of an optimal number. It's higher, it gives you the greatest return on your health, At the same time, it's quite a few steps. So the first number, if you just want to hit the bare minimum of health benefits, and this is backed by a study in The Lancet, plenty of other studies have looked into this. Researchers generally find that 7,000 steps a day is an ideal number that lets you sort of maximize your health benefits in the minimum amount of time possible. So if you're pressed for time, your goal should be 7,000 a day. That helps you ward off most diseases. It reduces your risk of dying early. That is a great number. That said, more is better. So if you dive deeper into that data, the studies find that 12,000 steps a day allows you to absolutely maximize your health benefits. And the catch is, doing more than 12,000, it doesn't seem to reduce your risk of disease any further. It doesn't give you any more. Now, that said, the benefits of going from 7,000 to 12,000 steps a day, they're just a little bit better. It's not like a crazy difference. So again, 7,000 if you want to hit the bare minimum. 12,000 will get you a little more benefits. Of course, it's going to take a lot more time. And then the inevitable question is, okay, great. Now that I know the real numbers, how do I actually get that amount of steps? Let's say 7,000. Here's my advice. I think you should look for ways that you can add walking into things that you already have to do. One of my favorite stories about this comes from this woman who reads my 2% Substack. Her name was Mary. She had a desk job where she would take phone calls all day. She was only getting 2,000 to 3,000 steps a day. What she did is she realized, oh, I do have to take all these phone calls for work, but I do not have to take them sitting. So she started popping in headphones and taking her calls while walking, and she was able to get well past 7,000 steps a day. Nothing in her life changed except she started taking those phone calls while walking. So the takeaway, look for easy ways to add more walking in your life. As for me, and I may sound like a complete and utter psychopath for saying this, I get about 14,000 steps a day. At the same time, I'm not necessarily trying to. Instead, I happen to have an absolutely insane hunting dog named Duke. And if he doesn't get the steps in, he is just going to go find a mission in my house. And it typically involves, pulling down a computer monitor or a coffee maker. So he really incentivizes me to get in all those steps. That is our show for today. Thanks for checking it out. And thank you to Foster and Melissa for talking to us about the power of walking. Do not forget to subscribe. And if you have a question, please put it in the comments or send us an email and we will try and answer as many questions as possible. And if you want bonus points, send us that question in a voice memo or in video format and we will have at it. We would absolutely love that. As always, in closing, have fun, don't die.